This is Wycombe Sound.
Hello everyone, Dane here, and you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. We're the local radio show that covers everything in and around the Wycombe area to do with the arts, whether it's, poetry, songwriters, theatre, dance, you name it, we try and cover it. You can find us on Facebook if you search The Art Show Wycombe Sound. Your likes are very much appreciated. And if you want to get in touch with me here at the studio, you can email me on dane.cobain@wycombesound.org.uk. As always, I want to hear from local musicians, poets, anybody really who's got something they'd like to come and talk about on the show. And if you've got audio clips, even better, because then we can play those to people. Before we get stuck in, though, I normally have a little ramble about something or another. So this week, I guess I want to talk about lockdown bubbles. So I don't know, I live alone, and so does my mum, so we're lucky enough that we can go into a little bubble together. The problem is that she's quite a long way away, and I really need to use public transport to get there. And you're ideally not meant to use that unless it's like for vital travel. But at this point, it's for my mental health, and we can form a little bubble together. So I can go and stay there and have a little bit of normality. But I mean, I think it's a great thing. It's the rules are quite confusing. So it's only available to households, like single person households. But also, basically, a single person household can buddy up with one other household, no matter how many other people there are there. So for example, I could buddy up with a household of, 8 people, and that's fine because we're in this bubble. But then nobody else can bubble up with that household. So there was an interesting article on the BBC News website about it, because basically a lot of flatmates are having this problem where when the rules came out, people weren't really clear on them. So people like bubbled up with their partners or whatever, and they can't do that. So like if you've got 6 people living in a house, say you've got 6 girls living in a house, and one of those girls has bubbled up with her boyfriend, that means those other 5 girls in the house, they can't bubble up with their boyfriends. Now obviously this is where it gets really confusing. They can only do that in the first place if their boyfriend lives alone, I guess, because it would be the boyfriend's bubble. They can't have their own bubble because they live in a multiple person household. It's very confusing. We live in confusing times, but the upshot is I get to go and see my mum, which is good because there was that meme going around, wasn't there, where it said, not allowed to hug my nan, but I can take her on Oblivion at Alton Towers or whatever, which is true. Like, everything's opening back up. So we've been lucky enough that when I've been able to see my mum since the lockdown, she was actually the first person I really saw, the last person I really saw pre-lockdown as well. But because of the bubble thing, I can go and visit her, and things are starting to open back up again. So we're starting to get some little semblance of normality. Obviously, when the pubs reopen, that's going to be the big thing for me, but surely, I suppose. One of the interesting things about recording a radio show as opposed to presenting it live, theoretically, I can cut out any awkward silences and pauses. I usually don't, because I think it then makes me sound unnatural when I'm speaking, but you listen back to things and you think about them, and I've just been listening back to my little explanation there of how bubbles work, and one, it doesn't really make much sense, but I think that's because the bubble system itself doesn't make particularly huge amounts of sense. But 2, it's strange that I automatically went to group of women and boyfriends, because it's just quite, I think the word is like heteronormative, right? I should have really gone with partners. And even like women and their partners, it doesn't really matter what gender the people are. We're talking about X number of people and X number of partners. Doesn't matter the genders or genres even of either partner. But it's interesting, I guess, because it's stuff like that makes me realise like how normalised a lot of stuff is. I just think back to when I was growing up in this small town in the Midlands. Actually, one of the things I really like about High Wycombe is its diversity. The town I grew up in, Tamworth, I think it's currently 99% white, whereas the national average is about 87% white, and High Wycombe is something like 67%. And I just think that's really good that we have a nice little melting pot of cultures, and it really comes across in our art scene and some of the performers that I've seen as well from just all sorts of different backgrounds. And when you have these different backgrounds, that's what makes people so fascinating. And actually, when we talk to our guests here on the show, we quite often go into their background as part of how they got to where they are today. So yeah, I don't know, I just thought it was worth calling myself out for that, and like we all should do that really. We all should kind of be a bit more aware of what we're talking about, and the ways in which we're talking to make sure that we're not, I don't know, perpetuating stereotypes that don't need to be perpetuated. That is my semi-political rant of the day. I do think this bubble idea is a good idea, though, because obviously, especially for people living alone, it's been a really tough time. I mean, I can attest to that. The only person I've really had to talk to is my cat. I've actually been coping okay. I mean, actually, it helps that I do this show, so that gives me kind of a lifeline with the community, and I get to, I get to talk to a lot of people who I'd normally see at pubs and things and chat to there, but I wouldn't necessarily hop on a phone call with, so that's quite cool. So that's kind of helped to keep me connected, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have like some research coming out in the next sort of 12 to 18 months that really looks at loneliness during the coronavirus pandemic, especially amongst people living alone. I mean, mental health issues are obviously just a plague that we're struggling with in general, but this can't have made things any better. On the plus side, I do think that maybe it's given us a greater understanding of ourselves as like a species, and it has also led to a lot of new ways of creativity as well. I've seen a lot of my sort of artist, musician friends, etc., finding new ways to stay sane, during social isolation, to make remote videos together or as part of a collaboration. I was talking to Colin Upfield in last week's show as well about how he and his brother basically collaborate remotely already, and I just think until we have something like a true vaccine, we're always going to be dealing with sort of social isolation to a certain point, social distancing. It feels like social isolation at this point, doesn't it? But where we can, I don't see why that's a problem, So, if you need to go to the shop, it doesn't need to be you, your husband, and the kids. It could just be one of you going. And again, looking at recording things, why not all record at home and work with a remote engineer and stuff? If anything, it might save us money. I mean, yeah, I guess we want to keep recording studios going as well, so it's a double-edged sword, but I think it's an interesting discussion to have, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. So come along to the Facebook page. If you just search for The Art Show on Wycombe Sound, you should be able to find us. Or again, if you want to drop me an email, feel free to do that, dane.cobain@wycombesound.org.uk, and I will read out what I can on air. Just, I guess, don't swear. So on last week's show, I shared a short intro essay that Isaac Asimov had written to one of his short stories. Asimov's rapidly becoming one of my favourite writers. He's kind of a pioneer in the science fiction genre and key to a lot of the ideas that we have about robotics today. But in most of his short story collections, he wrote these little introductory essays to kind of explain how the stories came about. And I find them quite fascinating. So in last week's one, he was talking about the question that writers hate to get asked, which is, where do you get your ideas? And this one is for a short story called It's Such a Beautiful Day. But I find this particularly interesting because I'm quite nerdy about Myers-Briggs personality types. So they've been described as astrology for people with college degrees, which is kind of funny. But the general idea is that there are like 4 main sort of sliding scales of personality type, and you kind of fall on one side of the scale. And so this 4 times 4 means there are 16 different personality types. My personality type is INTJ, which stands for introverted, intuitive, thinking and judging. Most INTJs in movies are bad guys, so like the Night King from Game of Thrones was INTJ, Lord Voldemort, or if you want to pronounce his name correctly, Lord Voldemort, because he's French, basically. And so there's a silent T at the end. I think Tywin Lannister was INTJ, Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, all of the bad guys, basically. But some famous real-life INTJs include Isaac Asimov. And so I think his way of writing here is very typical of an INTJ, and also kind of reflects my sort of outlook on the world. So yeah, this is the introduction to It's Such a Beautiful Day by Isaac Asimov. We all have our lovable eccentricities, and I have a few that are all my own. For instance, I hate nice days. Show me a day in which the temperature is just 78 and a slight breeze has the lush foliage of June, or the just turning leaves of September, rustling with a soft murmur. A day in which there is a drowsy softness over the landscape, and a sweet freshness to the air, and a general peacefulness over the world. And I'll show you one unhappy fellow, namely, me. There's a reason for it, a good one. You don't think I'm irrational, do you? As I said in the preface to Sally, I am a compulsive writer. That means that my idea of a pleasant time is to go up to my attic, sit at my electric typewriter, as I'm doing right now, and bang away, watching the worlds take shape like magic before my eyes. To minimise distractions, I keep the window shades down at all times and work exclusively by artificial light. No one has any particular objection to this, as long as we have the sleet of a typical New England late fall day darting through the air, or the blustering wind of a typical New England early spring day, or the leaden weight of Gulf air that splats out over New England in the summer, or the dancing flakes of that 3rd foot of snow that blankets New England in the winter. Everyone says, boy, you're lucky you don't have to go out in that weather. And I agree with them. But then comes a beautiful day in May, June, or September, October, and everyone says to me, what are you doing indoors on a day like this, you creep? Sometimes out of sheer indignation, they pick me up and throw me out of the window so I can enjoy the nice day. The niceness of being a writer, of course, is that you take all your frustrations and annoyances and spread them out on paper. This prevents them from building up to dangerous levels and explains why writers in general are such lovable, normal people and are a joy to all who know them. For instance, I wrote a novel in 1953 which pictured a world in which everyone lived in underground cities, comfortably enclosed away from the open air. People would say, how could you imagine such a nightmarish situation? And I would answer in astonishment, what nightmarish situation? But with me, everything becomes a challenge. Having made my pitch in favour of enclosure, I wondered if I could reverse the situation. So I wrote It's Such a Beautiful Day, and did such a good job at convincing myself that very often these days, sometimes twice in 1 week, when I feel I've put in a good day's work, I go out in the late afternoon and take a walk through the neighbourhood. But I don't know, that thing you people have up there in the sky, it's got quite a glare to it. I wouldn't know what that is because I'm mostly nocturnal. Anyway, we're going to listen to a bit of local music, and then shortly later on we're going to be chatting to this week's guest, who is Tony Goff of Tony Goff and the Broken Colours. And in the meantime, we're going to have some local music. This is Steph Willis, and she has a new single out. I'm just going to read what she says here on her Facebook page, and you can go ahead and find her on Facebook and Twitter, etc. She's at facebook.com/Steph Willis UK, and you can find links and stuff there. So she said, here it is, my newest single, Why, written completely remotely during lockdown with Matt and Bob of Unique. What do you think? Download, stream, share, write reviews, and then come join me next week for a live stream where donations will be raised for 2 domestic abuse charities. So here we go, Steph Willis with Why.
I saw all the warning signs, but I ignored them. All of those mistakes I've made, I absorbed them, so I can give the benefit of doubt, 'cause I know that I'm not perfect. The problem is we're broken, but your arms are always opening. I don't need your comfort, 'cause it only wants to keep me in a limbo. I don't wanna stay here in this limbo. The way that you hold on to me, hold on to me, hold on to me. The way that you are wanting me, you're wanting me, you're wanting me. Why do I feel so strong when you're not next to me? Why did it take so long before you lost your grip? There's nothing left holding me now. Been walking on a wire, choking on adrenaline when everything is quiet. Silence is deafening. I don't wanna stay here in this limbo. But the way that you hold on to me, hold on to me, hold on to me. The way that you wanted me, you're wanting me, you're wanting me. Why do I feel so strong when you're not next to me? Why did it take so long before you lost your grip? There's nothing left holding me now. Now I can see you for who you are, for who you are, for who you are. Now I can see you for who you are. Why do I feel so strong when you're not next to me? Why did it take so long before you you that was holding me down. The way that you held on to me, held on to me, held on to me. The way that you want to me, you want to me.
Love music, love talk, love Wycombe Sound.
Happy London Press and Wycombe Sound present High 2020, the short story competition. If you've had the ideas but never written them up, if you have a sheaf of them ready to send off, or if you've never tried but would like to have a go, this competition is for you. You could find yourself in print and on the radio. Entry forms at high2020.co.uk. That's hi2020.co.uk. Don't put it off. Get those short story muscles in trim and get writing.
Saturday evenings from 10.
Keep their frequency clear.
If you enjoyed dance music from the 70s, 80s, 90s and noughties,
I know you're gonna dig this.
This is the Familiar Funk Show.
then join me right here on Wycombe Sound, each and every Saturday night from 10 till midnight. DJ Smoking.
That feels so funky.
Old school tunes remixed and reworked for today. Exclusive international artist promos, live freestyle mixing. It's all about the music.
This is Wycombe Sound.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still yawning. I'm on my own, there's no messages on my phone. The silence of my breath, and the tapping at my desk. Silence of my grave. Lord, communicating, I can't get out. My routine, my curse, my flow, my down. My flow, my down. Fighting the pain, fighting the death, fighting the taxman. There's nothing left, it's all fighting the pain, fighting the death. Oh, 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 Long communication, I can't get out. My routines, my first, my flow, my down. My flow, my down. Long communication, I can't get out. My routines, my curse, my flow, my down. My flow, my down. Fighting the pain, fighting the death, fighting the taxman. There's nothing left, 'cause you're, 'cause you're, 'cause you're, 'cause you're. Long communication, I can't get out. My routines, my first, my flow, my down. My flow, my down.
That was Reckless by Tony Goff and the Broken Colours. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. My name is Dane Cobain, and I'm about to be joined by this week's guest, Tony Goff, Before we chat to him, though, I'd like to just sort of, I guess, say thank you to him for a start. He sent me a vinyl of his band, and so the track we just listened to, Restless, that's actually the vinyl version of Restless. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to him for sending that. He actually sent it to me. He was doing a thing which we talk about in a bit. He was doing some live streams, and one of them was in aid of Mind, the mental health charity. And he said he'd send out a vinyl to anybody who made a donation. Now, I happen to be kind of affected by some mental health issues myself, so Mind is a charity that I'm very much in support of, so I probably would have donated anyway, but the free vinyl was a nice added extra, so yeah, he sent me the vinyl, and I listened to it, and it was excellent. Anyway, let's hop on the phone to Tony. Well, do you want to kind of talk about the deal you've got with your new single, maybe introduce the single, and let us know how it came about, because you're working with an American label to release it, right?
Yes, we're working with Bentley Records to release this. It was a random one, actually. I was sending it around to PR, seeing who wanted to, who liked the single, who wanted to sort of distribute it and stuff, and they bit, and yeah, they emailed me back, and they were really interested, really loved the track. They invited us to sign to their label, and so far, so good, It's early days, of course, but.
Well, I suppose that's like one of the benefits of like the global marketplace as well, that you can, as a band from High Wycombe, you can sign a deal with any record label anywhere. You can distribute your music all over the world and that sort of stuff as well. I mean, what are some of the like advantages of signing with these guys? What's what attracted you to signing the deal with them?
Well, that's what you hit the point there. So like you can be anywhere in the world to get signed to anyone really, but this deal in particular is not sort of one of these larger major deals where we would have to be with us all the time and make all the decisions for us. We get to keep our music rights, which is the main benefit to me. Mm-hmm. But they give us marketing guidance and help us with the branding, etc. like that. And give us any help we need, really. And I suppose that helps you sort of to focus on the music as well, right? Yeah, of course. And there might be opportunities to tour America and then in the future as well because of it. So it's all very exciting in that end. So whereabouts is it that they're based again? New York City. New York City. So I mean, even if you just get to play a few shows in New York, that'd be pretty sweet. You guys have been on the road sort of quite a bit throughout the years, though, right? So like, what are some of the places that you visited, like while on the road with your music? Well, the most exciting places we've gone, abroad. So when we went, we toured Denmark, and we've toured Italy a couple of times. That was fantastic. Obviously, just being another country, just an amazing experience. We've also toured, like Wales, and all of the UK, obviously. We haven't gone to Scotland yet, which is on the cards. But yeah, it's been pretty busy and pretty fun. Sweet. And I mean, one thing I've been wondering, I've actually sort of wondered this for a while, is where did the name of your group come from? So obviously, I mean, I actually quite like the way that you've got the setup, the Tony Goff and the Broken Colours. It sort of, I don't know, reminds me of, Dion and the Belmonts and sort of, 60s bands and stuff. But where did the name the Broken Colours for the backing band come about? Well, that's quite funny, really. Because the name's I've always laughed about it, really, because it was one of our ex-members, Max Whiting. He's no longer with us anymore, but he suggested a name and it stuck. It was a joke, really, at the start, because he suggested on a blank canvas, laughing at me. And they're the Broken Colours that they splatter to make this lovely music. I mean, that's an interesting point though as well, because I've always wondered this. It's a difficult balance to get when when you're like a band leader and the main songwriter and stuff, and the kind of the temptation is to play under your own name, but then obviously you've got the backing band to think about, and everyone's got different ideas about the name. So sometimes, as silly as it sounds, sometimes like just deciding on a name can almost be enough to like pull a band apart before they even get started. Oh gosh, you're right. It's a tough process, but the guys who got with me now. So basically, before this lockdown happened, the band was on a break sort of thing, so didn't do the gigs for a long time, for a good while. So I've got some new members in because the old members sort of like one of their own projects, basically. Yeah. Which is about time, they've been with me 5 years, and so we've got Ashley, Tom, and Connor now with me as the Broken Colours. Yeah, it's all very exciting now with them on board. Do you find that
you know, working with different musicians and changing things up like that, does that affect your playing style and the kind of music that you make?
Look, well, it always would affect the music, but this is definitely for the benefit because all these boys have a similar taste to me as well and a similar vision.
So building on that, I mean, well, I was going to ask you who some of your musical inspirations are, but I suppose what I'd like to know is, like, who are some of the bands and the artists who, you know, every Broken Colour all enjoys?
We all do love our classics, that's for sure, and that's where most of our inspirations come from. We can't really say that we're too much hyped on the modern what's coming out right now. So we're definitely going that direction. Myself, I'm more swung towards the bluesy side with the Johnny Cash and the Elvis Presley sort of thing. And Connor, he's a guitarist. He's got some. Yeah, he likes a bit like more hard blues, sort of rock and roll. And Tom's the bass player, so we love his funk.
You know, how important is it to have that melting pot of influences going into the music you create?
It's important, and it's always a tough one to get right. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To get the recipe right. But again, I can't stop. You know, as a musician, I have to do what I feels good and from the heart. I don't want to write a thing because it sounds a certain way, for example. Yeah,
well, that's how you end up with the music of today that you're not a fan of.
Yeah, and I'm always maturing and getting older, so my music tastes change all the time.
So are you like the only songwriter to the band? Do any of the other band members contribute lyrics or anything like that?
I'm the lyricist, but the band can contribute musically. And they will throw ideas in there or to write about or something like that.
Because I was wondering what the songwriting process looks like for you. So when you're sort of, I don't know, first of all, what makes you think I'm going to sit down and write a song? And then what are some of the challenges of then taking that song and turning it into a full band song that you can all four of you can play together?
It's a process for sure. And it's always written from, unfortunately, a high intensity emotion, whether that be happiness or depression or sadness, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's never I can't just pick what I'm going to write. But when I've got the thing down and I've got the idea, I will sort of write a body for it, a general idea for it. And when I'm happy with that, I'll take it to the band for them to sort of tweak it. I've got to have a certain idea in my head, and then they will sort of put their flair on it and make it sound beautiful.
You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. My name is Dane Cobain. I'm here in conversation with Tony Goff of Tony Goff and the Broken Colours. And this is their new single, Rearrange, which has been released by New York's Bentley Records.
Driving down the same roads every day, the same old faces and the same old names. I'm climbing to find me a real safe space. You're struggling to stay afloat. Every breath may be our last. It's time for a change, right? Have the chances. Time for a change, right? Have the chance. Time for a change, right? Have the chance. Oh. Shell of a man. Test your limits to find your key. Your breaking hearts to know you're free. Missing out on what I need most. I'm not a person, I'm just a healing post. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. Do what scares you, baby, don't ever hesitate. Rearranging, everything's changing. Like in the time, can't find the motivation. Try to figure out just who I am. 'Cause I can't remember that shell of a man. Oh. chance. Can't do life while you have the chance. So rearranging, everything's changing, like in the time. Can't find the motivation, trying to figure out just who I am. 'Cause I can't remember that shell of a man.
Guess what? We're doing so good for time this week. We can have another Tony Goff song. So this is my favourite of his tunes. This is Snakes and Ladders. And I bet he hates it when I say it's my favourite of his tunes, because this came out in 2013. Snakes and Ladders.
My life is like snakes and ladders. I'm on the top and then I stagger. Fading life, fading friends. This rate won't be good and now. Won't be good and now. My life is like Pluto, just trying to find a screw in me. Go fish and see what you might find. Battleships, see if you survive. Survive. I close the door so some will open. I change the course as some are broken. Now try to find another way to reach that long-awaited day. My life is a charade, stuck in the mud and it's constant day. My life is like snakes and ladders. I'm on the top and then I stagger. Go fish, see what you might find. Battleships, see if you survive. Survive. Close the door so some will open. And change the course as some are broken. Trying to find another way to reach that long-awaited day. Long-awaited day. I close the door so some will open. I change the course as some are broken. Now trying to find another way to reach that long-awaited. I close the door so some will open. I change the course as some are broken. Now trying to find another way to reach that long-awaited day.
This is Wycombe Sound.
That was Tony Goff and the Broken Colours. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. My name's Dane Cobain and I am here in conversation with Tony Goff himself. Over to Tony. Well, I suppose we haven't really covered what it's like to go into the studio. So what was it like actually going into the studio to record the new single? I know you've been in the studio in the past, but I mean, was this with a new band? And you know, how long did it take?
Reasonably short. We done a different approach this time. We brought the producer to our studios,
Nice.
and we recorded here. So we got a slightly different sound just from being in a different place as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good though with the new band. They all took to it great, and they played their parts perfectly.
So what have you got like planned to follow this up? Is the single going to be part of a larger album?
It's going to be part of an EP, which we will hopefully release by the end of the year, all the new year.
And are you going to do a similar setup for your recording for that as well? Are you going to sort of record it at your studio?
Potentially, we might be recording back in London for that for the rest of it. We see how it comes out in the end, you know.
Do you have a favourite chord? And if so, do you find that you kind of do you over rely on it when you're writing songs? Like, do you use it too often?
Well, I suppose we all do, don't we? Like as a guitarist, we also go to that. Say if you're jamming, you always go to that chord. Well, I'm very bluesy, and also I love the kooks when I was younger as well. So you've got your simple chords like your E minor is a great one for going for blues riffs and solos. You know, it's a great root chord. Or you got all the B minor is good as well because the kooks use that a lot. And obviously I used to learn a lot of my songs from them when I was younger, so I tend to use that a lot, just sort of forced into my head. We're recently, using more dynamic chords at the moment, but I suppose they're used for certain things rather than the overall sort of like jam with playing the guitar. I always start with these prominent chords because it sort of, I suppose it resonates with me as from the night. It's got like 90 sounds to it as well. Yeah. And then as the song goes on, it'll develop. But I like to keep the song powerful and sort of these strong chords in your face, and then they surprise you with these funky chords later on in the song, in between. Yeah,
which, I mean, that sounds a lot like your new single as well. That it kind of fits that formula quite well, I think.
Yeah, so it's got a bit of everything in it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's an interesting song because it's one of those where it kind of keeps taking you in different directions. And obviously, we've all been adapting to life under lockdown, and I know you've done a few live streams. So I think you did as part of what was it? Books Lockdown Fest, I think it was, wasn't it? That you did some streams for.
Yeah, I think I've done like 6 gigs like similar to that. It's really good fun to be a part of these charity fundraising gigs. Actually.
Yeah, because I mean, that was in aid of mine. I mean, so have you done any others? It's so hard to keep up with live streams these days, but
it is. I think 3 of them were for charity.
Yeah.
And two of them for Mind, and one of them was for the I can't remember the trust, but it was for a trust.
Awesome.
And the other 3 were just general gigs, and streams.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the nice things. I mean, it's kind of kept me sane is like all of my musician friends are doing little streams and they're streaming from their gardens or whatever. And it's nice. It's like a nice way to kind of keep up with people. But it's funny to me because obviously, I don't know, I think a year ago, not really many people were doing streams, and even if you did, it was hard to get people to watch. And so I guess I wondered what the experience has been like for you adapting from playing. As you say, you've done some tours in Europe, so you've been playing on stages in Italy and stuff, and now suddenly you're doing a live stream from your living room or whatever. What was that process like to adapt to that?
It's weird. It's quite nerve-wracking, weirdly.
Yeah.
But it's enjoyable to a degree. You obviously get to talk to people, and they're all there, the hearts flickering up on the page. And stuff. That's lovely. But you're obviously gonna. I miss the show. I miss the entertainment, and hopefully we can come back to these gigs very soon. I did enjoy the streaming, but I think I want a break from it now.
Yeah, I think most people have. I think everyone's pretty much just like, can we go back to the pub yet, and put on outdoor gigs or whatever. But I mean, I definitely it's interesting. I'm sure we'll probably look back in 5-10 years at this like moment in time when we're like, do you remember when everyone was streaming because nobody could go out?
No, it's gonna, it's great. Yeah, it's crazy times. I hope everyone's safe listening.
One thing that's probably potentially quite good for you there, though, is again, you play with the band, and so streaming actually is giving you a chance to play a few sort of solo gigs, but without like the pressure of putting on solo gigs, if that makes sense. So it, I suppose it allows you to sort of experiment and try just stripping back a bit more and just doing an acoustic guitar and vocals.
Well, I always actually do solo, in between. I might not hype it up as much, but I'm always doing solo gigs. I've always done it through my sort of like career, you might say.
Yeah.
So I've always done it, but the band's been like a priority. It was fun. It was fun though, and I miss the band. We go back. I think we're gonna attempt to first rehearsal in a couple of weeks.
Sweet. Well, that was something I was going to ask actually, which was because we're pretty much towards the end here anyway. So I just wanted to know, I guess, what have you and the band got planned next, and also where can people find Tony Goff and the Broken Colours online?
Oh, you can. Well, what we've got planned next is more recording for now, because we've still got to be careful of the isolation, the lockdown rules, right?
Yeah.
So you can't go too mad. A little bit of rehearsals and plan for this, because we're going to be touring in the spring next year.
Yeah.
You might do an odd show before. I can't say for sure yet.
Yeah.
There's talks a bit, but. So, and then we're working towards the EP release. And if you want to contact us on socials or see us or hear us, most of the tags are TGBC official UK, and the only one different is our Twitter, which is Tony Goff Music.
Cool. And obviously your new singles, I don't think it's out now, is it, while we're talking, but it will be out by the time people hear it. And that'll be on on iTunes and Spotify?
Yes, it's June 19th, yes, it'll be out by the time everyone hears it.
Cool.
And it's called Rearrange.
Perfect. Cool. And just, I have one kind of last little follow-up question, actually, which is, did you have anything planned for this summer? You know, was this summer going to be a big touring year for you, and do you need to like make up for it next year, or was this summer always going to be working on some new tunes, sort of ready to go out next year?
I suppose I'm quite lucky in that sense, because we wasn't really ready to tour yet, because with the new, getting with the new members and stuff. So yeah, it's good time to really sort things out. So in that sense, it's been positive.
Yeah.
But everything else has been pretty negative because it's not a great time for everyone.
Of course, yeah. I think we're all just trying to find the positives in the negatives, aren't we? And I suppose that is one for you guys. And it kind of means that you have no excuse now except to sound awesome when you do go on tour, though, because you should have had plenty of time to all learn the songs and the backing lines and stuff.
More pressure.
Yeah, just what everyone needs. That was Tony Goff of Tony Goff and the Broken Colours. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM at Wycombe Sound. And this is another one of the tunes off the vinyl. This is Losing Hope. I can give you some information here as well. It was published, I believe, by Phonic, recorded at Freefall Studios by Goff, Unsworth, Whiting and Lacey. So yeah, Losing Hope by Tony Goff and the Broken Colours.
Can't see it going that far. I felt the same, like I'm living in my past. There's things about me you will just never know, and I can have you until I give you my soul. Can't see the point, can't see it going that far.
Love music, love talk, love Wycombe Sound.
Being a foster carer isn't just about providing vulnerable children a safe home. It's about loving, listening and guiding. It's about changing their lives. If there's space in your home and you have the time and patience, then Nexus Fostering wants to hear from you. We're your local fostering agency, rated outstanding by Ofsted, and we're here to support you in supporting them with full training and a competitive allowance. For a career that really makes a difference, visit nexusfostering.co.uk or call 0800 389 0143.
Hi, it's Pippa here. Join me every morning at 7 o'clock for the Wycombe Sound Breakfast Show, featuring all your usual favourites, including Carefree Karaoke, The Breakfast Banger, Chickatita's Choice, and, in an effort to keep your morning routine as normal as possible, we'll be taking the register at 8:45. I'll name check all the people that have been in touch with me every morning. So why not tweet me, send me a message on Facebook, or email studio@wycombesound.org.uk. Don't be late now, and no skulking behind the bike sheds. That's the Wycombe Sound Breakfast Show every weekday morning from 7.
This is Wycombe Sound.
I'm gonna move to Mesopotamia, make a mess of pottage and share it with you. But because I'm a vegetarian, I'm not gonna sacrifice a goat. Instead, I'll make it up to you sufficiently with a body and a note. 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 A body and a body and a body and a I'm gonna settle in Seattle, sing a song of sixpence and spend it on you. But because I'm a vegetarian, I'm not gonna fill my face with fat. Instead, I'll make it up to you sufficiently with a bloomer and a bab. 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 A bloomer and a bloomer and a
That was Mesopotamia by Occasionally David, and before that we had Losing Hope by Tony Goff and the Broken Colours. We're now at the part of the show where I recommend a book, a TV show and or a movie, and an album to keep you guys entertained throughout lockdown, or I mean life's getting back to normalish now I suppose, but just to keep you entertained in general. So, for this week's book, I'm going to suggest something a little different. This is a book called A Humument by Tom Phillips. It's spelled H-U-M-U-E-M-E-N-T, I think. It might be H-U-M-A-M-E-N-T. Anyway, basically, it's a portmanteau of the words human document, so it's a human document. And it's a treated Victorian novel. And it takes the form of blackout poetry. So blackout poetry is essentially where, a poet will take a source, maybe a newspaper article, and they'll black out most of the text in it, apart from the words that they want to use to form the poem. And what Tom Phillips has done here is he's blacked out essentially an entire novel, but he's done it in like an art way as well. So it's not just black over the text. Like, these are full paintings that accentuate his poems while still picking out the individual words of this old Victorian novel to tell his story. So it's also kind of found poetry in a way as well. The only problem with this as a recommendation is that I'm not sure how easily available copies of it are, and so you might struggle to find one. But if you can get hold of it, especially for a low price, definitely grab it. It's one of those books that's really influenced me in terms of what I think of a book, you know? It changes my perception of what's possible. Okay, for this week's movie, we're going to go with Muppet Treasure Island. Why not? I watched this with my mum while I was visiting her in Tamworth, because we're now able to have our bubble. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those movies I used to love as a kid. I used to actually have the soundtrack as well. I used to wander around, you know, prepubescent Dane singing in a high-pitched voice. So yeah, definitely a fun one. Plus, like, I don't know, I actually quite like the Muppet adaptations of classic stories, because I liked Muppet Christmas Carol as well. And Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens to read is actually really good book. I think I first read it in July or something, but I wasn't so much a fan of Treasure Island, unfortunately. And actually, I got a horrible comment from somebody the other day, saying that like, oh, obviously I must be too stupid to appreciate it because I didn't like it. Obviously, that makes me want to read it again. But yeah, as a movie, I mean, it's not the best movie, but it's a lot of fun, good for the whole family, and I get a lot of nostalgia from it as well. So yeah, why not? And for this week's album, I'm going to recommend Fevers and Mirrors by Bright Eyes. They're an indie folk band led by a guy called Connor Oberst. I haven't really listened to much of their newer stuff, to be honest, but when I was sort of in my late teens, I was really into Bright Eyes. Fevers and Mirrors, I think, was about 2001 maybe when it came out. And actually, the opening song on it, I'm going to have to look up the name of it here because it's quite a long, complicated name. It's called A Spindle, a Darkness, a Fever, and a Necklace. And it begins with this little kid reading a little, you know, children's story called Mitchell is Moving by Marjorie Weinman Sharma. And I love this album so much that I tracked down this children's book so I could read it, purely because of the excerpt of this child reading it at the start of this song. But it's a really beautiful album, and it's got a lot of different genres mixed together as well. Yeah, I think it still holds up really well, and even now, God, it's 20 years later. That makes me feel old. So that brings us pretty much to the end of this week's episode. Thanks as always for tuning in. We're live and online on 106.6 FM and on wycombesound.org.uk every Tuesday at 7 PM. You can also find us on Facebook if you search for the art show Wycombe Sound, and you can email me at the studio here on dane.cobain@wycombesound.org.uk. I want to leave you this week with this cool little video from Social Link. This is their Social Distance song. And I guess I'll give you a bit of information about Social Link first as well. So they have some info here. I'll read this out. Social Link provides a varied service for adults aged over 18 years in South Buckinghamshire who have a disability, be it physical, mental or Asperger's. We aim to help all who, because of their disability, have limited opportunities for social contact and inclusion in their communities. We pride ourselves on focusing on what individuals can achieve irrespective of ability. Our members come from a diverse range of backgrounds with an equally broad range of abilities, and we are driven to help them to grow as an individual, learn, make friends, and enjoy trying many new and stimulating experiences. So they're actually working on an allotment project at the Art Centre as well, which is super cool. Hopefully I'll get to eat a bit of their fresh produce when it's ready. I don't know, maybe I'll go along and help out a little bit as well, I'm sure, so that I've earned my right. But yeah, definitely have a look at Social Link online. You can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/wherebeingYouCounts. And this is their social distance song. So they wrote, "This great video is a great way to remember all of the important tips to keep you safe during COVID-19. Sing along too, as it is really catchy. This video will also give you a chance to brush up on your singing too." And this stars, I know Freedom Tierney's in it, and Sean and Ali from Ear Candy are in it as well. In fact, we might even see if we can get those on the show at some point. But yeah, let's check this out. This is the Social Distance song. Remember to stay socially distanced, stay safe, and I'll hopefully see you on next week's show.
Hi everyone, here's a Social Distance song. If you want to, you can sing along.
When I go out away from you. When I get there, well, you know I'm gonna wash my hands especially for you. When I see you, I will hug myself to say hello to you. And we'll all go, we will go and do the stuff, all the fun and arty stuff we love to do. So I will stay 2 meters clear and you will keep 2 meters too. Together we will all stay safe and all of us will see it through. Social distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, don't touch your face, and don't forget to sneeze into your arms. Social distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, don't touch your face, and don't forget to cough into your arms. When I'm working, I'll be working with my tools that I cannot share with you. When you're working, please don't ask to borrow tools, 'cause I'm sorry I can't share my tools with you. When I get home, well, you know I'm gonna be the one who washes hands for you. I'll be thinking of the fun I had, and I can't wait to social link with you. So I will stay 2 meters clear and you will stay 2 meters too. Together we will all stay safe and all of us will see it through. Social distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, don't touch your face, and don't forget to sneeze into your arms. Social distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, don't touch your face, and don't forget to cough into your arms. Social distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, don't touch your face, and don't forget to sneeze into your arms. Social distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, don't touch your face, and don't forget to cough into your arms. So I will stay 2 meters clear and you will keep 2 meters too. Together we will all stay safe and all of us will see it through.
This is Wycombe Sound.